And going over to the Culture Pod podcast, you have a possible John Deere boycott after they apparently sponsored pride events for kids, and they have documents using they them pronouns, and they had a reporter explode this on the X Twitter. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Robbie Starbuck, who said, quote, "It's time to expose John Deere. John Deere has been one of the most beloved brands by conservative farmers, but recently, CEO John May's watch, they've gone woke, or on his watch rather, which, I was going to say he has about 5 paragraphs of text. However, his voice is infinitely better than mine, so we'll go ahead and it's a little bit long, about 8 minutes long, but nevertheless, it's one of the most trending things on the X Twitter this week. And I think you can summarize the situation a little bit more effectively than I. And again, this is posted thanks to Robbie Starbuck, which, yeah, I'm already following him. So without too much further ado.
John Deere. Alright y'all, it's time to expose John Deere. As many of you know, we had a very big win recently with Tractor Supply where we got them to drop all their woke policies. Well, I regret to inform you that John Deere, another company that relies on conservative customers, has also gone woke. This page you see behind me is their personal pronoun policy. They encourage employees to use pronouns in all communication. And I'm just warning you now, you're gonna wanna strap in because this is going to be a long video and in my opinion, much worse than Tractor Supply. But let's continue. This is an event that John Deere sponsored called Capital City Pride's Little Rainbow Run. It was for kids as young as 3 years old to engage in pride. And side note, I don't care if you're gay or straight, kids should not be celebrating what type of sex you like.
We'll also review the major shareholders of John Deere, and this will all make a little bit more sense later.
Weird, it's creepy. Here's a fun photo we found on LinkedIn. Yes, this is John Deere employees being trained on the genderbread man. Yes, the genderbread man. If you're not familiar with that, it's the whole concept that basically gender is completely fluid. There's no such thing as your biological sex. You just are whatever you think you are. So much like Tractor Supply used to have, John Deere has what are called ERG groups. These are a way to divide people on identity lines. Pure identity politics. They separate you by race, sexuality, or any number of these things. This is a post about their Rainbow ERG group, which, if you guessed was their gay group, you were correct. You're gonna wanna see the logos that were made for it. As much as I wish I was joking, I am very much not joking. These are real logos that were posted.
Looks like the logos almost look like name tags. Interestingly enough, I can't tell if they're... Really? No.
Posted on LinkedIn. Which, side note...
Yeah, they looks like they're adult toys of all different colors, and it says, "Ask me how to become an ally."
Posted on LinkedIn. Which, side note, John Deere is much more open about their belief system on LinkedIn than
most companies are. It is fascinating to watch the different sections of business representation. If you look at things comparing their, their X Twitter profile to LinkedIn profile to their activity on Facebook as well as Instagram, many of them are two-faced, to say the least.
And they are on other social medias. I wonder why that is. But you know what? We'll get back to their stuff on LinkedIn in a minute. Let's go check on their diversity, equity, inclusion page. By the way, Bill Gates is their largest shareholder. Are you getting super conservative vibes yet from John Deere? On this page...
Well, technically, it's a company, an investment company owned by Bill Gates, but yeah, it is one of the largest. We'll go over the top 10 or 12 in a minute.
From John Deere's website, they note that the finance team really took things to the next level in 2020 when they said their diversity efforts were just simply not enough. So how did they up the game? Let me show you. One of many ways they upped the game on DEI was for the financing team leaders to do something called a 21-day United for Equity challenge through United Way. So I decided I should take the 21-day challenge. But before I show you what I went through for a few hours, and yes, you should feel sorry for me because I did have to go through the full 21-day thing in a couple of hours. Just note that they are promoting this accounting and finance team as their promotion of inclusive hiring practices and that they're leading the way with a diversity, equity, and inclusion mindset. So this is what apparently they want from employees.
Why's the finance team doing that? I always thought finance team should know things like, profits, losses, ways to actually mitigate your taxes so you may decrease the tax burden. But no, they have different priorities, apparently.
In this 21-day challenge, it was recommended to me that I read Ibram Kendi's How to Be an Anti-Racist. In this section here, it says that racism is something that we all carry within ourselves. As a result, we must unlearn biased and racist ideas to replace them with tools and actions that are centered around equity, empathy, and solidarity. Here's some stuff you should know about Ibram Kendi. Kendi believes that capitalism and racism are inextricably linked, and you must be an anti-capitalist to be an anti-racist. But enough about Kendi. Here's another one of the challenges I received as part of that 21-day equity challenge. It says, read Awake to Woke to Work, Building a Race Equity Culture, essentially a book about bringing wokeness to work. My other options during that challenge were to review Racial Equity Tool's new glossary of racial equity terms with over 60 terms and new definitions. I mean, this is really the changing of language to try to subvert normalcy. That's what it is.
Can't help but remember Newspeak from 1984 by George Orwell. One of the best, most brilliant books of all time. Unfortunately, probably not taught in many public schools.
Just so you know, communists have always done this. Another challenge option I received was to listen to the podcast episode, Bias Isn't Just a Police Problem, It's a Preschool Problem. No, I'm not joking. I wish I was. And just when we thought we were done with Ibram Kendi, here he comes, he's back again, and they're discussing his book, Anti-Racist Baby. Yes, that is the children's book about anti-racism, which again means anti-capitalism to Ibram Kendi. This 21-day challenge also refers to Jacob Blake as a victim. And in case you forgot who Jacob Blake is, let me remind you. Police believe Jacob Blake was kidnapping children and stealing a car at the time, and Blake had a knife in his hand when he was shot. He had just recently done almost the same thing, taking a car and money, but was charged with just sexual assault in that instance, and was wanted at the time that this incident took place for that sexual assault. When I was recommended a book about black transgender people, the first thing that popped in my mind, by the way, tractors. Tractors. That was, I mean, it immediately links together for me, you know? I don't know.
It would be fascinating to see the statistical breakdown of what tractor owners identify as that. I'm not saying it's zero, but maybe 0.0000187% approximately.
I don't know about you. It was also recommended to me that I listen to a podcast series called Seeing White to discover the history of how the concept of whiteness came to be. And yes, it is completely derogatory against white people. This 21-day equity challenge from United Way also recommended that I watch the 2018 video Deconstructing White Privilege by Robin DiAngelo. Again, another far left figure. You guys wanting to buy a John Deere tractor yet? This challenge also listed white privilege and, yes, Christian privilege as the 5 most common types of privileges. And no, they don't mean that in a nice way. I
mean, it's kind of ironic or funny. It's kind of the antithesis or the opposite these days. If anything, that's the one group of people you're allowed to discriminate against, culturally speaking, in the United States, which is disgusting because you shouldn't discriminate against anyone just based on things that they can't control, like their race and their gender. And yeah, is the one butt of every joke since decades is Catholics and Christians. Every other religion gets ultra protective, can't make fun of them. They never do in the mainstream media, but yeah, of course.
Be forgiven though if you were totally confused by this, seeing as the same challenge also tells you that race and racial identity are social constructs, in which case I'm not sure how whiteness exists. They never really explain that. But they did tell me 28 common racist attitudes and behavior, which included believing in reverse racism, colored blindness, treating everybody the same, or individualism. Also racist, asking a person of color for help. You should be asking white people. But don't only ask white people because that is also racist, as you see in number 24. Also racist, bending over backwards to help. Shouldn't do that. Also racist. There was a whole lot more crazy, but that's a short summary of that 21-day challenge from United Way. And that was promoted on the John Deere website that the finance team did that, and apparently they love when employees do things like this because they've given millions to United Way since then. And I'm sure right now you guys are all itching to know about the journey that John Deere employees have as rainbow allies. So watch this video. I'm at least pretty sure none of them are hostages, but you decide.
DEI is
and ironically, not a lot of diversity in these videos from John Deere.
no longer an option. It's a business imperative if we want to maintain our leadership in the marketplace and continue to attract great talent and retain the talent.
I'm learning each day how different we all could be and how many unconscious biases are there at work, and how we have to be cautious about them.
Now, why is all of this happening? Because there's much more, and we have a lot to expose. This is going to be coming out over the course of the next few weeks, at the very least. But we need to point out, it seems like all of this has started to happen under CEO John May. John May, since he's been there, has overseen all of these woke policies coming forward, the embrace of DEI, which is just inappropriate. We don't seek our values to be forced on anybody else. We just want neutral workplaces and neutral businesses to buy products from. We don't need your politics or your social values. We just want to have good products, good customer service. That's it. So John has a choice to make, and that's his choice. He's either going to double down on these crazy policies, or he's going to recognize that they are diametrically opposed to the values of his customers. I hope that he chooses to get rid of these crazy policies and do the right thing like Tractor Supply so we can bring America back to sanity. And you know, I don't know about y'all, but
I don't think you will. I'll dive that in a second.
John Deere would be in a much better position if they were more focused on the core business instead of DEI and woke policies, because they just had to do mass layoffs and have announced a production shift to Mexico. I can't think of anything that's a larger betrayal of the American worker than taking jobs to Mexico while forcing this DEI down their throats. It's a violation of so many of your employees' values and your customers' values to push this woke Trojan horse for leftism.
And when they actually announced that they were moving production to Mexico, they noted one of the biggest issues was, well, decreased demand globally for these type of agricultural machineries, but also, obviously, the cost. Imagine how much money John Deere could save if they didn't have a whole bunch of, again, this is coming from the finance department and HR doing these initiatives. Because, again, these aren't cheap. They're paying thousands upon thousands of dollars for those guest speakers, these programs. It costs a lot, and also a lot of opportunity, lost time. Your employees are all participating in that when they should be participating in things that actually drive revenue for the company or increase customer satisfaction or increase the quality of the actual things that they sell. But they're doing those trainings instead.
It is time for a change to bring America back to sanity, and that is what our exposés are going to continue to do, is put pressure on corporate America to tell the truth about the values they're espousing, to tell the truth about how the corporate equality index is influencing them, because again, this is a company, John Deere, with a 95 out of 100 from their CEI score at the Human Rights Campaign. If you've had enough and you've been a John Deere customer or thinking about becoming one, there's their customer service phone number at corporate headquarters. Call them, not your local people, okay? Your local people are not the problem here. Your local dealer is likely just as opposed to this as you are. Feel free to let them know because they run it up the chain, but call this number right here for customer service and let them know how you feel. Also, if you want to email, you can email publicrelations@johndeere.com and let them know how you feel about this. That's it for now, but there will be much more soon.
Yeah, and also one of those things for the dealerships, very similar.
All right, y'all.
I don't know why Twitter thinks it's a feature to have the video replay when you finish it, but yeah, it is important to note, very similar to the automotive traditional, dealership relationship. The John Deere does not own the dealerships. There's just a franchise agreement where, again, they pay almost like a royalty, like a McDonald's. They pay for the right to actually use the John Deere name, the logo, and then they resell the products and provide their own services. Just like when you go to the local Chevy dealership, General Motors does not own that dealership. The mom and pop or business owns that in actuality. And yeah, they do not have any input into that. They might, give a little feedback to the corporate office, and depending on the business, they take their feedback with more or less grains of salt. But yeah, that is important. Now, a lot of people are wondering, why is John Deere doing this? Well, it's because of shareholders. It's not the consumers. I think from a consumer perspective, the average farmer, let's be honest, most of them are hardworking conservative folks. Most of them just want actually a product that actually, works and is reliable. And they probably wouldn't be too happy the company is investing in things like private parades for kids and distracting the company, spending company-sponsored company resources on these types of trainings and activities and these ideologies. Now, when you look at the top 10 shareholders of John Deere, this all makes a lot more sense. The number one shareholder at 7.98% is the Vanguard Group. The number two shareholder is Cascade Investment LLC. Never heard of them? Nope, neither have I. Well, it is actually owned by Bill Gates, owning 7.17%. The third largest owner is BlackRock, coming in at 6.08%. Fourth largest shareholder is JP Morgan Asset Management at 4%. Quite big. State Street Global Advisors, Inc., 3.73%. Again, the three biggest holding or investment firms in the U.S. are Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. And all of them have very similar ideologies. They do make investment choices and decisions based on what these companies do in regard to those types of DEI, LGBT, ESG types of activities. So they're going to buy even more stock if the company does this. That's why it's no coincidence we're seeing pretty much every Fortune 500 company is doing these types of programs, because the biggest shareholders are pushing them to. You also have Geode Capital Management coming in at number 6 at 1.85%. We also have Wellington Management Group at 1.59%, Morgan Stanley Investment Banking and Brokerage Investments at 1.42%. Number 9 is Janus Henderson Group at PLC at 1.4%, and 10th largest is Parnassus Investments coming in at 1.39%. So now that we know the shareholders, makes sense, makes a little bit more sense why they're doing all these types of things that aren't directly tied to generating profit for the company. Now, again, this one got 4.2 million views and 48,000 likes on X Twitter. One of the first comments coming from Noah Wall says, for those of you, granted, hey, if you do me a favor and click that subscribe button, it may very well assist with my speaking ineptitudes. I have a theory. When I first started the show, barely anyone tuned in, had barely any subscribers, and I spoke really fast. Yes, even faster than now. Mostly monotone voice, and I mispronounced even more words. However, as I've gained more subscribers, I've slowly but surely increased my speaking abilities. Granted, some might argue it's just a modicum of improvement. However, it is an improvement nevertheless. So if you can do me a favor and click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. And someday, may very well make it through an entire episode with perfect speaking enunciation. Time, of course, shall tell. Now again, Noah Wall, what I was attempting to say, says, quote, for those of you interested, the only reason John Deere didn't get a perfect 100% score on HRC CEI was that they didn't have a, quote, benefits guide for LGBTQ employees. They provided all the required benefits, which included paid transitions for kids, just forgot to make the guide. Wow. Yep, and they do have all this. Yep. I got 2.6 thousand likes. Robbie Starbuck says, I'll have some good news about that soon. Or some news about that soon, more accurately said. 1.9 thousand likes. Marky Joy says, John Deere Special Edition. It's the CEO's face plastered on Bud Light cans. It's featuring John Deere CEO John May. Gained 1.7 thousand likes. Which, yeah, again, there are a lot of farmers out there who might just change their buying decisions. And again, those are pretty big decisions. These things cost about a house on wheels. They're massive pieces of machinery. Scrolling down more and more, you have Paul Zupa saying, quote, oh man, Robbie is going to give John Deere the tractor supply treatment, getting 1,000 likes. Craig Chamberlain says, quote, DEI is a true systematic racism that the left keeps claiming to exist, and it needs to be abolished. Unquote, getting 540 likes. Let's see. Bricky Trans Flag says, quote, FYI, supporting our community is not turning their backs on conservatives. I thought you conservatives always preached about loving others. Recently, it seems like that changed into hate. Mostly mentally backwards, but got 113 likes. Now, this person was immediately ratioed beyond belief. Statistically speaking, Robbie Starbuck responded saying, quote, we don't want our money contributing to events that celebrate and honor that kind of sex you like or have found, or how confused you are about your sex. What's nuts is that you apparently thought we'd be cool with funding them when we didn't agree with it. I got 2.4 thousand likes. Which again, I mean, no one cared what folks, I mean, most Americans don't care what folks do in the bedroom as long as a kid isn't involved. I think that's a lot of, most people think that. The issue is, again, a lot of these pride parades, you have naked adults in front of kids. I mean, a lot of people, that's a big red flag, or big pride flag. So to me, that's one of the biggest points of controversy when it comes to many of these instances. Also, when you have these workforce activities where you're treating people differently based on their race, that's not only illegal on a federal level, but it's also immoral. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of reasons people are opposed to these types of activities. You have Ginny saying, thank you, Robbie, for the information. She has a picture that says, I identify as a overtaxed, underrepresented, non-woke, pissed off American citizen, getting 1.4 thousand likes. Pro-American Politics says, drag queens don't drive tractors, John Deere. Conservative farmers do. Boycott them. I got 2.4 thousand likes. Valentina Gomez says, go woke, go broke. Any farmer knows there's only two sexes, or try milking a bull. Every company needs to stop this gay shit. Getting 1.5 thousand likes. Here. Oh, here we go. Wow, so someone actually added the shares to the larger shareholders. Vanguard Group, again, the larger shareholder, has 21.99 million shares of John Deere. A lot of reasons to do what they say. Let's see here. Low Grade Food Dog says, Deere is also fighting right to repair, which means they don't want you to repair your own equipment. Not even belts, hoses, or light bulbs. Must take it to a John Deere authorized repair shop. It got 917 likes. And yes, there's another point of controversy in the farming community, as well as, most Americans. Right to repair is a huge thing. And yeah, a lot of people are not happy that John Deere wants to lock everything in, basically treating it like a smartphone on wheels. Especially not good when you're a farmer in the middle of nowhere, relatively speaking. If you have something break, then you have to wait for some technician to fly out there to fix it, or you have to carry that thing or tow that thing all the way to the dealership. Doesn't seem logical. Seems pretty stupid. Going down more and more. Let's see. There's only one contrarian comment thus far. Let's see here. Suppose them says DEI must DIE. It's a picture of John Deere. Oh, but it's in Photoshopped. This is John Queer, and it's a picture of the product. I get 476 likes. JCS says they have been overpriced for what they are for some time. Kubota or even Madaria and Coyote are much better brands for the price. They are as much as built in America as John Deere. Everyone outsources their parts and puts them together here. Got 235 likes, which Kubota is an awesome, well, you could argue is Texas-based company. I mean, globally they are headquartered in Japan. Those things are darn near bulletproof. I got a couple of farmer buddies. I mean, those things just keep running like a champ. Going down more and more. Is any, let's see here. Joshua says, I'm already annoyed with John Deere for moving to Mexico and firing tons of Americans. 461 likes. Let's see. Interestingly, so only one country in comment thus far. Midwest Mom says, as Midwestern John Deere customers, I am appalled. I'll never buy another product again. Getting 80 likes. So once again, we have the age-old argument of who's more important, the shareholder or the actual customer. Because in this case, those values are overwhelmingly the opposite of each other on it. So what will John Deere do? Again, they're owned, of all those 10 shareholders, the 10 largest shareholders, an overwhelming majority of those shareholders want them to do these types of activities. But most of the customers might just not buy anything because of that. So I almost wonder who's going to give out first, or what will they do? And we see an overwhelming majority of the time the customers, or rather the business, sides with the shareholders when it comes to these types of cultural instances. And really the only 2 times I remember in the past couple of years, I mean, the company even acknowledged there's an instance was Bud Light, which attempted to do something, but it was mostly too late. And they lost about 30% of their sales, just gone, thanks to that business blunder of the year. And then you have Tractor Supply, which Tractor Supply did backtrack. However, now Tractor Supply is being at risk of being boycotted from people on the left or far left who believe in the DEI, ESG, XY Banana Falcon types of initiatives. So kind of an age-old instance also, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. However, when it comes to farming and agriculture, I think there is an overwhelming majority of the customers and prospective customers who don't want them doing these types of pride parades with kids, these types of ESG, DEI scores. But let me know in the comments, as always. I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, giving me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.